What's up, everyone? Today I bring a deck profile on my Swordsoul deck. Now, Swordsoul is a deck that I've actually been wanting to do for a while, but it was just so expensive, and that's like $50 for one copy of a card. That's expensive to me. But since the entirety of the deck got reprinted in Mavens, it's a budget deck now, minus the Baron de Fleur. But outside of Baron de Fleur, I'd say the most expensive card is probably Moyi, and that's like $5. So without further ado, let's get right into it. I run 3 Swordsoul of Moyi. Whenever Swordsoul of Moyi is normal special summon, you can reveal 1 Swordsoul card or 1 Worm monster from your hand. Special summon 1 Swordsoul token. That's kind of the theme of this deck, that they do stuff to special a Swordsoul token that is a tuner. Yes, tokens that are tuners. And when this card is used for when this card is sent to the graveyard for a synchro summon, or sent to the graveyard as synchro material, you can draw 1 card. I also run 3 copies of Swordsoul Strategist Longyong. Longyong, you can discard 1 other Worm or Swordsoul card from your hand to special summon this card, and if you do, then you can special summon 1 Swordsoul token. And if this card is sent to the graveyard as synchro material, you can inflict 1200 damage to your opponent. I also run the 2 Swordsoul of Taya. Taya, you can banish 1 Swordsoul card or 1 Worm monster from your graveyard, special summon a Swordsoul token. And if this card is sent to the graveyard as synchro material, you can send a Swordsoul card or 1 Worm monster from your deck to the graveyard. So when it is synchro summoned, you can fool this. Or not synchro summoned when it's sent to the graveyard as synchro material. I also run the 3 copies of Incredible Ecclesia. Ecclesia is essentially an extra copy of any of the Swordsoul cards. Essentially, during the main phase quick effect, you contribute this card, special summon 1 Swordsoul monster or fallen violence from hand or deck. And if your opponent controls a monster, or if your opponent controls more monsters than you do, you can special summon this card from your hand as well. So your opponent essentially can't hand trap this for the most part, considering it is a quick effect. So if they try to Imperma Veiler it, well, you can chain it basically to their Imperma Veiler. I also run 3 Tenyi Spirit Asahuna, 3 Vishuda, and 2 Tenyi Spirit Adhara. Now, all the Tenyis can essentially special summon themselves from the hand if you control no monsters or only face-up effect monsters. So it's definitely really good as a starter, and even cooler in this deck is it allows you to potentially use all 3 Swordsouls, Moyi, Longyong, and Taya. And each of them have different effects when they're in the graveyard, or if you control a non-effect monster. So this one, you can banish it to special summon a Swordsoul, or not Swordsoul, a Tenyi monster from the deck. Vishuda, you can bounce a card your opponent controls, and Adhara, you can target one of your banished Worm monsters and add it to your hand. So you'd usually use it to either get back your Vishuda or your Asahuna so you can use them again. Or if you use Moyi to activate the effect of, if you banish Moyi to activate the effect of Shishao, you can use the effect of Adhara to get it back, so you can just use it on your next turn, which is pretty cool. Moving to the spells, I run 3 Swordsoul Emergence. Emergence is kind of like the Rhoda for Swordsoul. You can add 1 Swordsoul monster from your deck to your hand, or if you control a synchro monster, you can add 1 Worm monster instead. And if this card is banished, you can target a Swordsoul monster or Worm monster you control, decrease its level by 1. You really only use it for the first effect. Next, I run 3 Heavenly Dragon Circle. Circle, you tribute a Worm monster to add 1 Worm monster from your deck to your hand, or if you tribute a non-effect monster, you special summon it instead, but negate its effects. So that's definitely really cool. So like, let's say you happen to brick and the only monster you open is Vishuda. You can use Heavenly Dragon Circle to tribute this to either grab Taya or Moyi to your hand, so you can basically get your plays going. Considering all the Tenyis can special summon themselves if you control no effect monsters, that really just helps make the deck much more consistent. I also run 2 Pot of Desires. I'm surprised it hasn't come back to 3 yet. I still don't know why it's at 2. I also run the 1 Called by the Grave, because you don't want to get hand trapped. Moving on to the traps, I run 1 Swordsoul Blackout. Blackout, you contribute 1 Worm monster you control and 2 cards your opponent controls, or not tribute, target a Worm monster you control and 2 cards your opponent controls, destroy them. And if this card is banished, you can special summon 1 Swordsoul token. I also run 3 Rivalry of the Warlords. It's one of the floodgates that we can actually play, considering mostly all we play is Worm. Like, there's only a few cards that are not Worm. I'd say the only one would probably be Baron de Fleur. But you don't necessarily need to make Baron de Fleur for this deck to be good. I also run 3 evenly matched. If you want to run Dark Ruler no more, that's also an option, but I feel like evenly is just doing a lot better than Dark Ruler at the moment. And lastly, I run the 3 infinite impermanents. Moving on to the extra deck. I run 2 Swordsoul Chixiao. Chixiao, if it's synchro summon, you can add to your hand or banish one Swordsoul card from your deck. And quick effect, you can banish one Swordsoul card or one monster from your hand or graveyard, then target one other effect monster on the field, and gets effects until the end of the turn. So it's a search and a negate. And you can basically go into it using either the Moyi or the Taya. Also run the 1 Swordsoul Sinister Sovereign, Quixing Longyon. If this card is, if you synchro summon another war monster while this card is face up on the field, you can draw 1 card. If your opponent controls a monster, if your opponent spell summons a monster from the, if your opponent spell summons a monster, you can banish one of those monsters, and if you do, inflict 1200 damage to your opponent. If your opponent activates a spell or trap, quick effect, you can banish that card, and if you do, inflict 12,000 to your opponent. Which also kind of helps to fuel up Shenging. Shenging, for each banished card, this card gains 100 attack, and monster's opponent controls lose 1,000 attack. If this card be destroyed by card effect, you can banish 1 card from your graveyard instead. And if a card is banished, you can banish 1 card from both your opponent's field and graveyard. So definitely a really good card. So if you're going against something like Flundries, this is definitely going to really destroy them. Also run the 1 Draco Berserker. When your opponent activates a monster effect, quick effect, you can banish it. So this also got an additional effect too, where you know, like make a second attack and gain an attack. But you really want it for that banish effect to interrupt your opponent during their turn. I also run the 1 Baxia, or Baxia, I don't know how it's pronounced. When this card is synchro summon, you can target cards on the field up to the number of different attributes of the war monster you use for the synchro summon. Additionally, once per turn, you can target 1 card to your control and 1 level 4 lower monster in your graveyard, destroy that card on the field, and if you do, special summon that other monster from your graveyard. So that's definitely pretty good. I also run the 1 Yazi, Evil Eye, or not Evil Eye, Yazi, Evil of the Yangzing. You can target 1 Yangzing monster control and 1 card your opponent controls, destroy them, and when this card is destroyed by a battle or card effect, it's sent to the graveyard. You can special summon a war monster from your deck in defense position. So you can literally just go into this, use this effect to pop this and 1 card your opponent controls, and essentially just summon out the other level 4. Also run 1 Baron de Fleur. Baron de Fleur is really good. It's just, it's got a negate and a pop. Although the negate is only once while it's face up on the field, but it has an additional effect where you can target level 9 or lower. Send Baron de Fleur back to the extra deck to summon that monster, so you can just remake Baron de Fleur. Also run 2 Monk of the Tenyi, as well as the 1 Shaman of the Tenyi. Definitely need that. Although Shaman is definitely really good, because let's say you have Moyi, use the Moyi effect to summon itself, then go into Chixiao, use effect Chixiao to grab Longyon, effect Longyon, use the Baron de Fleur. And then if you have Shaman of the Tenyi on field, and you have a Taya as well, you can also use that because you can discard 1 card to target 1 more monster in your graveyard, special summon it. Although there is a downside, you cannot activate the effects of monster special summon from the extra tag, although it's not really much of a downside because if you're going first and you bring up Baron de Fleur, you're not going to activate its effects on the first turn. So the effect of Shaman doesn't really apply that much. Also run 1 Tenyi Spirit Sasahara. Honestly, if you want to take this out for like a Nightmare Unicorn or another Monk, that is also an option. It hasn't really performed for me too much, so that's probably why if I were to change anything, I'd probably change that. But Sahasrara, whatever that is. While you control a face-up non-effect monster opponent controls, you cannot target effect monsters for attack. Also, your opponent cannot target effect monsters on the field with card effects. And quick effect, target 1 monster opponent controls. It's also a 10 Spirit token, and the token's attack becomes the target monster's original attack. So essentially it creates a token that you can just crash into your opponent's monster. Also run the 1 Apollosa and the 1 access code to help close games out, as well as a Hope Harbinger, for some spell negation since we run a bunch of level 8s. And that's it for the deck profile. What do you think of Swordsoul? Do you think it's a pretty cool deck? Let me know in the comments and I'll see you in the next video I make. Bye.